Right. So in this session, we'll be looking at um, the third part of the triple gem. That's the Sanghanusati. Welcome, Simon. And then we'll be moving on to the precepts. And just a few moments ago, just before logging in, I realized I hadn't yet done the my usual analysis of the language of the precepts. So I have fallen behind on that. My apologies for that, but anyway, we'll go through them as best we can without my preliminary analysis being done. So we start with let me just call up welcome, Judy.
Well,
Yeah, just going to share screen. By the way, a couple of the previous recordings, when I'd shared screen, I realized that it came up on my recording that all we had was the shared screen without seeing any of you. I checked that and it appears I'd got some settings wrong. I've attempted now to get the settings right. Okay, Sarah, look, you're nodding your head as if you know all about what's going on. Please share with me any wisdom you have on the subject.
no, I don't have any wisdom. I had noticed that you can't see you or the participants, and
Yeah.
I think that's a shame. If it's possible to show those things, it just makes it a bit more understandable when you're watching the video.
It certainly does. You know, I checked on Chat GPT to see what was happening. I think I found out it was yeah, I think it was I'm not sure if I can if I try to get back into the settings page, I might cut you all off. So I won't. I think it was something to do with the settings there. You know, I followed on Chat GPT what it said. We shall know later whether it's worked.
Great.
Okay. Um, there were two mistakes I was making. One was not getting the settings right. The other was to start the recording after I had already shared screen. Apparently that can block it as well. So what I've done, I've started the recording. Now I am going to share screen. Here we go, sharing screen. And you should also be all be able to see the shared screen. Can you all see your shared screen and yourselves? Okay, good. So we've done the Namakara, the Buddhanusati. Hopefully you will remember the explanation that I gave of Anusati rather than just sati. That is like sati, as we on it. So it's the word we used for mindfulness. But the literal meaning of the word is remembering, and that's its original Old Vedic meaning. And with this prefix anu, it's like a remembering along. It's like a methodical remembering, not just remembering this, then remembering that. It's kind of a methodical, systematic bringing to mind of the qualities one after the other. That's the force of the anu there. So we've done the Buddhanusati, um, Dhammanusati, and now it's the Sanghanusati. So I'll just read it out slowly, and then we'll analyze it. It says Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Ujupatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Nyaya Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Samichi patipanno bhagavato savaka sangho yadidan chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato savaka sangho ahunayo pahunayo dakkhineyo anjali karanayo anuttaram punyakhetang lokasati. So that is, of course, something that all of us, certainly most of us, have chanted 1,000 and maybe many more than 1,000 times, and we know by heart. There is some really beautiful and quite profound language in here. Even starting off with supatipanno. So the subject of this sentence is, the raw subject is sangho, and specifically, which means a community or a gathering, sangha, and specifically the Sawaka Sangho, the gathering of, or the community, literally of hearers or listeners. That's the word used for a disciple. So and Bhagavato, of the Blessed One. So Supatipanno, it's from the root pad, which the root meaning of this word pad means to go. From that root, we get the word pada, which means a foot, which is, for obvious reasons, it is the feet by which you go. We and the animals go and move. The word pada, of course, is cognate with our English word foot. They both come from the same origin. Of course, we don't use that root as a verb anymore, but it was both a verb and a noun in Pali and Sanskrit and Vedic. I mean, it used to be used as a verb in Shakespearean times. I seem to remember the expression foot it fleetly, meaning run quickly, foot it fleetly. But the verb use has dropped out of modern English. So pad is the going, and by normal extension, we have a pada meaning a path. It's the way by which you go. With the meaning, with the prefix rather, pati. Pati is a verbal prefix. It's possibly the most interesting single verbal prefix in the language, both in Sanskrit and in Pali. Its original meaning was back. And it also has the meaning of counter, like a counter force, to countervail, or something happening in reciprocity, or in return. You get force and counterforce, balance, counterbalance. It doesn't seem to have survived in any of the other modern languages, this prati, save in the Slavonic languages, where you have protiv, which means either against or counter. But it's developed quite a profound meaning in Sanskrit and Pali, and I think even more so in Pali in the Buddhist scriptures, because it has the idea of in relation to oneself, a kind of counterforce or interaction between oneself and what one is doing. We remember in the Sangha, the Dhammanu Anusati, sorry, the Sang, sorry, yeah, in the Dhammanusati, Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehipasiko Upanayiko Pachattam Veditabbo. This Pachattam is in Sanskrit be pratyatman, prati, one's atman, prati oneself means for yourself, with regard to yourself, by yourself. So it's pachattam veditabbo, to be known by and for oneself, meaning you know it in and by yourself rather than because somebody else has told you. We have a Pacheka Buddha. The Pacheka Buddha are sometimes described or sometimes translated as solitary Buddha. That is, Pratyeka becomes Pacheka in Pali. Pratyeka with regard to the one, just for the one. So the Pratyeka Buddha, which becomes Pacheka Buddha in Pali, means a Buddha just for one, a Buddha with regard to just one person. In other words, yes, an enlightened Buddha, but not teaching, not necessarily passing it on. Just achieve that state that there you are, done. Just pacheka for one, just applying to one person. So it becomes, in a sense, even more subtle in the Pratipanno. We pull up. Let's get the. Okay. Can you all see the iPad screen now? Okay, good. Thank you. So we have our root pad to go. It makes, you would normally have expected to see its past participle padta, which would have become patta. But in fact, just repeat for those who may not remember, when I write an asterisk in front of a word, that's a standard device used by linguists to show that I'm using a deliberately wrong form, a form that doesn't exist, just by way of illustration. What I'm illustrating here is this root pad. To make a past participle, you would expect to see padta, which become patta. In fact, the past participle is panna, which comes from pad plus na. So some past participles in Sanskrit and Pali are made by adding na rather than ta. And we do exactly the same in English. Our standard form of past and past participle is with an ed, but there are numerous irregular verbs where it's with an en instead. Driven, spoken, written, given. I mean, we have lots of past participles like that. And this more common form in ed and the less common form in en exactly reflects what we see in Sanskrit. The most common form in a ta, the less common form in a na. So padna, panna would mean gone. And pratipanna, or rather, let's look at the word, for one word for a path then is pada. So from that same root pada, but we get a patipada. Sorry, my pen's playing up again. So it doesn't go funny. I don't know why it's doing it. Sorry about the handwriting. It's my pen, this electronic pen playing up. So patipada. What does patipada really mean? It's translated as the practice, the path, the practice, but it's the path with regard to oneself. It's almost as if it's not. This implies here that it's not just a person treading a path, but it's as if the subtext here is the person is merging with the path. The person becomes the path. So translated as practice, generally, in the sense of one's meditative and so on, moral practice, way of conduct. But with this subtle subtext of absorbing the path into yourself. It's not you and the path, as if you become the path. Actually, the first time that struck me like that, I was years and years ago. I was on a retreat. Actually, it was a Buddhist retreat, but given at a Catholic nunnery by a semi-reclusive order of nuns, who just hired out their facilities for retreats. And our old Zen teacher there, Myokyuni, some of you may know her name, was talking to us about these nuns, and she said something very remarkable. She spoke about the rules and how they much obey the rules, and she said a very remarkable thing. She said they become the rules. They're so living so much with their own Vinaya within this Roman Catholic nunnery that they become the rules. I remember that struck me quite forcibly there. And this Patipada, I think, has the same force. It's as if the one who follows the path becomes the path. There is no distinction between the person and the path followed. So this is another of those numerous instances where there is no single English rendering of the word that's going to capture that tone. Which, as I've said before, that's why we're here. If English translations were able to capture everything perfectly, we wouldn't need to be sitting here studying Pali. So that is so to speak, the subtle meaning of Patipadan. The prefix here just can be an adjectival or adverbial. So it can well patipanno, well engaged upon the path. You'll see it translated as things like practicing correctly. To that, I would say, well, okay. I mean, if you're forced into a short translation, that may be as good as you get. But for the reasons I've given, it just has a broader and deeper meaning than that. So supatipanno, the o ending, of course, because we've got dealing with a masculine nominative singular here. So Savaka Sangho. Call up iPad again. iPad. So we have the root shru, meaning to hear. It's actually remained to this day in the Slavonic languages as slushet. I don't know what it is in Polish and Russian. Slushet, to hear the slush. It got a bit mangled when it came into Greek because it became aku, from which we get acoustics. But anyway, back to shru. By regular formation, from shru, just looking at the Sanskrit now, and then we'll look at the Pali. A shrab. Sorry, my pen's going funny. So I don't know why this is happening. Might need to get a new iPad one of these days. If this goes on, I'll have to fall back on the on the whiteboard. So it looks so Shravaka is one who Shrinoti, one who hears, so a listener or a hearer. And that's the standard word used for a disciple. So Shravaka then is what becomes in Pali Sawaka. So the Savaka Sangha, the community of hearers, definitely means community of disciples. Next one is Uju Patipanno. So with righteousness or with rectitude upon the path. So your Uju generally is treated as kind of moral rectitude. Rectitude is actually a fairly good translation because we've got this root, Vedic root rij, which in Latin became rec, as in rectitude is one, uprightness. In English, through the Germanic line, it became recht, and in up to English right. So rectitude via Latin and right, in the sense of right conduct, come from that same origin. So the adjective, the Sanskrit adjective, was riju, and then in Pali it lost the R sound and just became uju. So that uju in Pali is in fact exactly the same word as in an English word right and the Latin rectus, meaning right. So Patipano, therefore, sorry, come in.
We're not seeing your whiteboard. We aren't seeing your note.
Sorry. Thank you for telling me. But sorry, I'd simply forgotten to take the text off the screen. So you'd already seen me writing Savaka, had you? I think. So it's just this ridge, recht, right, ruju. That's what I've just been doing now. Sorry about that. Never feel shy about shouting at me to remind me to show the iPad or whatever it is I've forgotten. So Ujjupatipanno, so on the path or practicing, but now we know the greater depth of that word, with rectitude. Nyaya Patipanno. What have I said about nyaya? Rule, but caution, see note, yeah. Nyaya, incidentally, nothing to do with jnana, meaning knowledge. This is from a separate root. I'm just going to so I'm just trying to find it in my. Bear with me while I call it up. Just looking up Nyaya. Yeah.
James?
Yes? Simon?
Sorry, just to anticipate that one, looking this one up before, is this something to do with like nyaya in general is kind of propriety, the correct way of doing things? Because at the beginning of the Satipatthana Sutta, we've got something like Nyayasa Adhigamaya. So how the or maybe the other way around, but yeah, Nyayasa Adhigamaya, for the attainment of the correct method or the correct way. Is this to do with
It
kind
is
of
the same.
Aya, like putting it down, setting it down in place, as if like setting up a correct way of doing something?
It's not far off. There is a word similar to what you said, but that would be nyasa. That would be placing down. Nyaya, in fact, it's come from it's the ni and maybe an other aya. It's ni. It means coming into or coming back into. Ni, what you go back into. It's the where you're a bit lost, you come back to find your compass. The nyaya is much more than just a rule. It's like a kind of moral compass, your moral guiding compass. I think I have. Okay, so the ah, so we have the root e to go with the prefix ah. E that comes e then means to come. So ni a means to come into something, and by extension here, to come back into. It's your fallback. If you're lost or astray, it's the kind of the way it's the kind of basic guiding principle. Much more than a rule, it goes deeper than a rule. It's the whole morality and orientation out of which the rules arise, is the nyaya. So I've done a note on it here, which I won't read it all out now. But those of you who are interested can just go to nyaya. This is in my explanatory glossary.
So the Nyayasa Adhigamaya at the beginning of the Satipatthana Sutta, it's kind of saying, if you get this, you found it, you've got the correct guidance for the rest of the practice, so to speak.
Thank you for reminding me of that one, Simon. Yeah, because that is dead on there. It's more than just a set of rules. It's the kind of it's like your pole star. You get lost, find where the pole star is, and then from that point you know what direction you're facing. So it's just guiding their lives according to these fundamental deep principles that go, deeper than the rules, which are just individual expressions of the principles. Meaning, this is the principle itself. So was there any more on the Nyaya? As I said, I'll leave it to you to read this bit in the explanatory glossary. So we've got Supatipanno, Ujupatipanno, Nyaya and then Samichi Patipanno. Actually, as a matter of interest, are there any of you who know the origin of this word Samichi?
I know what it's not. I thought it was something to do with Samma, but it's a different root, isn't it?
It's not. It is to do with Samma.
Okay, I'm sure I saw it. Okay.
And Pali is a most phenomenally wonderful language, but it does suffer, if I can use that word, from the fact that in its phonetics, it merged several of the Sanskrit consonant clusters, dropped certain consonants and sounds along the way. So when you look at a Pali word, that word, as it's come into Pali, has very often lost the greater transparency that the equivalent had in Sanskrit. So I'll just explain Samma to you. So Samma, we'll know, it's the one that's usually translated as right, as in the Noble Eightfold Path, Samma Kamanta, and so on. But much more than right, of course. It's kind of a harmonious rightness. I can't remember how many of you have already seen my detailed explanation of Samma. I can tell. Are there any of you who remember in detail the explanation of Samma? Apart from Simon almost always does. Okay, it's actually worth looking at. So we've got this word Samma. In Sanskrit, it is samyak. And it just generally has the meaning of a harmonious perfection. For the reasons I will explain, it's composed of three elements.
James, are you writing?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you for that. Naughty me. It's some e plus anch. And that term anch means folding or bending. So let me first of all just call up the Sanskrit. I'm just calling up here Moni Williams. The root is anch, meaning to basically to bend or to curve. I think it can make anga and anka. And as I mentioned at the previous one, it's the meaning of bending has come into our English word ankle. The bendy joint at the bottom of the leg is the ankle. It's the same bending. So anch. Some together, e going, anch, bending or folding. So put these three elements together. That which holds together, that which comes together in a harmonious blending. So it's the wise harmonious activity that blends with your patipada, that blends with correct conduct in life. That all of this is enfolded in this meaning of samyanch, samyanch, harmoniously blending together. And why has samyanch become samyak? Okay. There's several rules of sandhi in Sanskrit. First of all, and it would have been samyanch. Okay, good. But firstly, no Sanskrit word is allowed to end in a double consonant. So this word would end in a double consonant, samyanch, so you can't do that. So you have to drop one of them. You drop the nasal, and that has the word ending in ach. Next rule, no Sanskrit word is allowed to end in cha. A root can, because that's not fully a word, but so the ach becomes ak.
James,
So
we can't see what you're writing.
Sorry. Thank you. So samyanch, anch, ach, ak. So ak is just the standard phonetic progression from samyanch because sami ak. And next we've got the e becomes a y because it's immediately preceded by an a. So e plus a automatically becomes ya. So sam-i anch becomes samyanch. So after that kind of Sanskrit phonetic rigmarole, we see how sam-i anch together going and folding harmoniously together, blending harmoniously together becomes samyak. So now from our Sanskrit samyak, it's already dropped a few of its elements along the way, the anch becoming ak. We now transpose this through standard phonetic progression into Pali. So the Pali would tend not to have a mya. A mya would tend to become a double M in Pali. So that's exactly what happens. And Pali words cannot end in a consonant apart from the subdotted M. And so what happens if a Sanskrit word ends in an ak? What the Pali tends to do is simply lengthen the vowel and drop the consonant. So samma. So that is how we get this much phonetically mangled word coming from samyanch in Vedic. So out of all that, we see this harmonious coming together. Another example of where our standard translation of right action, right view is, yes, kind of partially gets it, but not, it doesn't, of course, fully get it. Now, the next thing that happens, let us make an abstract noun out of samyak. It's an abstract noun that ends in an e, like okay, we have the word parama, furthest out, developed to the highest extent, parama, and we get the paramis, the higher virtues. So para meaning far out, parama, furthest out. Our English word paramount, by the way, is ultimately of the same derivation of parama, furthest out, highest level. Let's make an abstract noun of it by lengthening the first vowel and adding on an e, So parama, when we get a parami, the kind of the perfections, sometimes translate the virtues that are those qualities that are furthest out, that have been carried to their fullest possible extent. That's the meaning of parami, the paramounts, the ones that are furthest out, that have gone the furthest. Let's do the same with samyak. It would be then samyachi. The ch is allowed to come back now because it's no longer a final consonant. It's got a vowel after it, so it's allowed to come back and be a ch, which it was before. So samyak samyachi. Sorry to bore you with so much Sanskrit phonetics, but hopefully it will make it transparent. By standard phonetic progression, the ya before a long stressed e itself becomes an e. So samichi. So okay, might not it might not be easy to spot unless you follow it through these phonetic progressions. But here we see that samichi is simply the abstract noun of the adjective samyak. Simon.
Yeah, when I put the two together before because I thought that's what they were. And I mean, I'm way out of my depth with this, but I've in my notes, which I just looked up, I've crossed that out, heavily scored it out because something told me there was a Sanskrit root which is each, which is to do with going appropriately or moving, and it's from that. Now, is that just saying the same thing? And we've got a non-productive fossilized form coming down from the Sanskrit. Is that just what you said in another way, or have I got it completely wrong?
Do you say the? I'm hesitant to say completely wrong without having, or indeed have even wrong without having checked it. But I just have checked. You say there's a root each.
Yeah, which is something to do. Here I've got to go, to approach, to be fitting. So I with a macron and a C. And that's the kind of the Sanskrit root that I copied down.
Where did you copy it from?
I don't know. I must have got it from somewhere. But the main thing was for me to say it's not the same as Samma. But I'd rather it was Samma because it's much easier to remember because I know that one.
There might actually be another advantage as well. Is because I've just checked in the two most authoritative sources available to me. One is Whitney's Roots and the other is Monia Williams. Neither of them attests the root each.
Oh, okay, well that's good. I can.
I'm slightly relieved as well because I would have been. I thought, what's going on? If you'd come up with this root that this may be rather important sounding roots that I hadn't come across. So I cannot find, just on this brief looking I've done now in Whitney and Monia Williams, any reference to an each.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's good. Excellent.
So we may, I think, fairly safely dismiss it as a phantasm. To my relief as well, Simon. So we can just take it now that it is just the abstract noun from the adjective samyak, Pali samma. And where are we? Oops. Here we are. So Samichi Patipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. By the way, there's some Sangha. It can equally be correctly written with a subdotted M, Sangha. The pronunciation would be the same, optional which way you write it. You'll find both in the original Pali texts. This is some together plus gha. Gha is one combining form of our root han. Have I explained this to anyone here before? Okay. The root is han. Sometimes in an earlier stage of the language, it was gan and then became han, but sometimes the g comes back. It's a bit of an irregular verb. Sometimes you've got a h there as the first consonant of it, and sometimes a g. and it means striking. It's the root han, which means originally it meant to hit, but then more commonly it came to mean kill. That means to strike. It makes its past participle. You'd expect to see hanta, but it's not. It's hatta.
Are you writing, James?
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to be a little bit mean now. When did you first realize that I was writing, but that you couldn't see my iPad?
I thought at first I could work it out from what you were saying, but I decided that it was worth asking to see anyway.
Okay, you made the right decision, but delayed. Please always, and you can do it as a collective responsibility, all please immediately shout in chorus if you see that I'm writing on the iPad but have forgotten to share screen. So, han hatta. I just give that another little bit of fun etymology as well. So hatta is cognate with our English verb to hit. Han hatta, English to hit. It's that same word. If you are excited in a state of a flurry and worry, you are udhata. The ud meaning up. Udhata, which, by the way, when you get a stop consonant followed by an H, the consonant doubles, so it comes udhata. Oops, udhata. It's one of the hindrances often described as flurry and worry. So, udhata as a noun.
So, James, we can't see at the moment what you're writing.
What?
Yep. Okay.
I'm not sure what I did. Something black came across.
Yes.
Sorry,
Yep.
there we are. So that makes an abstract noun in Sanskrit audhatya, the state of being in flurry and worry. And that's the same then that in Pali becomes udhacha. Many of you will know this word. It's the name or part of the name of one of the 5 hindrances. It's the state of being udhata. Udhacha then is the abstract noun. Udhata, entertainingly, turns up in English as het up. Udhata, het up. So it's all sort of kind of whipped up and stirred into a kind of emotional froth. You know, that's so het up and udhata etymologically the same word.
James,
Simon.
is that your pen playing up, or should it be Odhatcha? You've got an O there, and I think that should be a U.
In this one here.
Is that just your pen?
I'm not sure. It's just a. This is meant to be an O.
Oh, isn't it Udhatcha?
Udhata makes an abstract noun. You apply vowel strengthening to the first vowel, so udhatya in Sanskrit, which becomes udhacha in Pali. Is it udhacha in Pali?
Udhatcha kukutcha, isn't it? It's flurry and worry. Yeah, I think it's a U.
Is it with a U?
I believe.
Yeah, it is.
Goodness me, I stand corrected because it jolly well shouldn't be. No, honestly, honest gov, it should be udhacha, but they've forgotten because in Sanskrit, udhata. Okay, Sanskrit and Pali agree. Udhata, het up. In fact, the word would be exactly the same in Sanskrit and Pali. make an abstract noun in Sanskrit by strengthening the initial u to au, audhatya. Standard phonetic transposition into Pali, the au becomes u, udhacha. If it's become udhacha, that is anomalous. I mean, it is very, very rarely that I will say that the original Pali speakers have got their own language wrong. But on this particular occasion, I dare to stick my neck out slightly. And if you'd gone up to any Pali speaker and say, well, don't you think because in Sanskrit it's Odhacha, you ought to be saying Udhacha in Pali? If they thought about it, they would probably say actually, yes. But there it is anyway. Thank you for correcting me, Simon.
Well, thank you for correcting the language. I mean, you've just given a good tell, haven't you?
I don't think this will get back into the dictionaries. We'll just have to accept that that's how it is. It is a slightly anomalous form in Pali. We get many, but it doesn't matter. In one of the verses of the Karaniya Sutta, Vyarusana Pratigha Sanya, we have this Pratigha Sanya. Look at this Pratigha. It's the form now, because it's initially the root form attached to a verbal prefix. It's not Patihau, Patihan, it's Pratigha. Like it's not Sanhan or Sanha, but Sangha. It's where the G comes back. Sorry to say this, but this root Han does behave like a little bastard. It's anomalous. It switches between vowels. It sometimes drops vowels in the conjugation of the verb. It's almost as if it's there to torment the learner. But we'll just have to accept it for what it is. So when you see ga, that is the variant form for historical reasons of ha. So pratigha. So in this line in the Karanimetta Sutta, Byaro Sana Pratigha Sanya, this prati I was just talking about, counter, against, or back. Pratigha, sometimes translated as aversion, something like that. It means back striking, hitting back at something. Go away. Something's coming near you. Pratigha, hit it away. That's the root meaning of that word. So it's just checking that the doggy is making himself comfortable, Simon. Yeah, he's fine. Sangha just means bumping into something. I mean, we think of Sangha as a very venerable word, as indeed it is, the Sangha of monks, the community of monks. But the original meaning just means the bumping into, the people you regularly bump into. That is the original root meaning of that word. So a very homely kind of idea it has, the people you're constantly striking against.
James, going back to the translation of Samichi Patipanno.
Yes.
So you put it down as rightly practicing, but is that right? But you said it really means kind of rightly folding harmoniously together. Is that correct?
Yeah, it means it is you are engaged upon your path, the patipanno, where you have become one with your path. How in this manner of harmonious melding with it.
Right. Okay. Yep. Okay.
So to tease that full meaning out of it, we just can't do it in a one word equals one word translation.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I put rightly practicing, but I would rather I would over expand the length of these things if each time I said, no, don't take this translation too seriously. Just use it as a rough guide. So you can't actually say it's wrong. What would be wrong is to take these words rightly practicing as if they conveyed the entire meaning. It kind of hints at the meaning, it kind of points at the meaning. And of course, the purpose of what we're doing here is getting at the meaning behind it. Yes, it's happened several times, and people have said to me, "But 10 pages ago, you said that, and that meant that." Okay, so everything also just take these use of these words that I give you in English. Simply take them as kind of imperfect tools, which we are chipping away at the meaning, trying to building up what the word means, using the medium of the English language to do it, but not getting stuck with the meaning of the English words. Particularly, remember, here we are as contemporary English speakers in the 21st century. I mean, the words that we're using now would have been kind of understood rather differently or not at all, even as recently as Shakespeare. And Shakespeare is only 1/5 of the time from now back to the Buddha. Even when we're speaking words to each other, there's an act of translation going on. Each of us have our own histories of what a particular word means and what its resonances are. So, as we are speaking to each other, all these brains now, we're engaging in acts of thinking. We're just taking in known words in the English language, but there's a constant inner translation going on. I've got an idea in my mind that for which a particular word is selected, out comes the word, it hits you, it hits your mind, and it hits a different neural network with all the resonances. And that is just contemporary English speakers speaking now. How much more so for the resonances from 2.5 millennia ago? So back to where we were. Where are we? So, yadidam chattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala. Yadidam, you could have dropped out. Yad just means which or what, and idam, neuter, means this. So what this means, that which is this, which is just a rather cumbersome roundabout way simply of saying this. Simon. Unmute, Simon.
I would have thought it's got more use than that, because yad refers to the previous bit, so that which, so up until sawaka sango, and then we've got idam, this, so it's kind of id est, isn't it? It's, you know, that is to say, and then gives the rest of it. So it's actually, it seems to be doing more work than that. It's not just saying, it's not the two bits are kind of in apposition, that we've got up until Sawaka Sango and then another way of describing them. It's saying that they are the following people, the four pairs, the 8 kinds of noble beings, etc.
That's an attractive idea, Simon, and I think that you've very easily won me over on this one. That very frequently in the text we do find the yadidam in a pleonastic kind of way. Incidentally, still used, oddly enough, in modern Hindi in exactly the same. That which is this is sometimes used as just for this. It's like pure infill words. On this occasion, Simon, I tend to think that you've got a point there.
I mean, I can't remember what it is. I mean, you know it by heart, but there's at the beginning of the Karaniya Metta Sutta, there's a really odd pleonastic bit that just means this or that or something. But this seems to be doing more work, doesn't it?
Your idea is very attractive, and I am going to research it further, and I will come back whether it could be doing a bit more work, as you say. I'll check this and be back with more next time.
I mean, it almost is a translation of id est, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I've a feeling it could be. Am I going to commit myself to saying that is definitively right? I think I'm going to do a little bit more research and let it mature in my mind. But it is. I feel tempted to follow that path, Simon. So it's just gone 4 now, so we'll have our usual break. And I'll see you again at 4:15. Yep, see you then.
Remember, stop recording, James.
Oh, thank you. Pause recording. Sarah, during the break that we've just had, or it was only during the break that we just had, that I finally realized that I had an unread email from you yesterday afternoon.
Oh, right.
In which you touched upon that very point that we have been
Oh, I see. I didn't realize you independently arrived at it.
I had, so it's obviously a question of great minds thinking alike, but yes, so we're both onto that point. And I was prompted yesterday when I saw the previous video to try and work it out. It's where a Chat GPT did come to my aid, and I hope it's worked.
But you've got 2 screens, have you? I wonder if that's part of the complexity.
I've got 3 screens actually.
Wow.
Because so what I have, because separately I have to do quite a bit with the language work and translation work. I have several different texts up at the same time. So what I have, I've got the screen in front of me, because I'm looking straight ahead now, is my gallery screen where I can see all of you. The screen to my left is the shared screen, and the screen to my right is the kind of holding screen where I've got all these other texts that I pull up and drag across. Because although it's physically 3 separate screens on the desk, the computer's set up so the computer thinks it's all one big screen. So I can simply drag a thing across from one screen to the other.
You may be stretching the capabilities of Zoom.
I think I am somewhat. However, there have been, for most of the previous recordings we've done, I think we have seen shared screen. Sorry, on the recordings, the videos that I've posted, I think we do see we see each other and the shared screen at the same time. Some we do, some we don't.
Yes, I'll let you know. Obviously, I won't have to watch this one, but I'll have to watch Saturday's.
So the last one we did last Saturday, three days ago, that was one where I was sharing screen. All you can see on the video recording
Yes.
is shared,
Yeah.
and it was that then prompted me to try and
Yes. Me too. Yeah.
work it out. ChatGPT can have its great uses, you know. Some people have even done it for Buddhist and Dhamma research, sometimes with hilarious results. But it can be quite useful. I was looking up some reference to the Anguttara Nikaya, and it gave a reference I couldn't follow. And all the Anguttara has got his kind of, or some Samyutta was it? Was it numbering? Is going so many different people have different numberings for it, and I was very puzzled by a reference that was given in I think one of Nyanaponika's books. I thought, okay, let me test ChatGPT, and I said, look, I've got this reference, I can't find it. What's this meant to be? And ChatGPT, it was almost, I was actually amazed. It was coming back like a very friendly, kindly person who knew all about it and said, yes, the references, there are numerous different ways of referencing text in the ChatGPT. But what Nyanaponika does, he uses the referencing as from the old Pali Text Society hard copy, and the last number is the page number. And it said it in such a kind of sensible way. This is artificial intelligence talking to me like that. I checked, and it was right. So, you know, it's like sometimes it says things that are wildly hallucinatory. Other times it's really sensible. And
I suppose it's
you almost
the
want to
quality.
thank it personally.
It's the quality of the source material, which is probably quite good in for Pali text.
I started off being rather dismissive of it, but I've actually had some pretty good results. You always need to double check. So it's actually, I found its greatest use is where could I find so and so, and then it tells you where. And then if it's right, then you thank it. Yeah, it's got it right. It's just saved you a lot of searching. And for example, just a few days ago, I said the names of the Buddha's two first teachers, the ones that we know about in the scriptures. That's Alara Kalama and Uddaka Ramaputta. I said, in which sutta do we have the account of the Buddha learning from these two teachers? It came straight back. It gave the correct reference, and even more than I had asked. It said an Alara Kalama. It took the Buddha as far as the Arupajana of the Akinchanyayatana, whereas Uddaka Ramaputta got him to the next one, which is the Nevasanya Nasanya ayatana, the realm of neither perception or non-perception. So I was actually pretty impressed, but always you've got to proceed with great caution.
A good thing to do, which I tried, is to ask ChatGPT whether it had a self, and if not, how.
Sorry, whether it had a
self, a sense of self.
Oh, a sense of self.
And if not, how ChatGPT was different from an arahant. And it was actually quite an interesting conversation.
Really, I could try that. And oddly enough, Greville, so most of you will know Greville, was telling me about a very recent attempt he was getting on ChatGPT, and it gave him an answer that looked plausible that was wrong. And then Greville actually confronted it, said, "Are you lying to me? Are you saying this to me just to try and please me?" But no, credit to it, it came right out with a full, honest confession that that's exactly what it was doing. So it can tell you a great deal, but it can tell you the most plausible lies as well. Anyway, let us get back to the On okay, my screen is shared. You can see. Can you see a red line across the screen?
Yes.
I just don't know what's caused that. It's just
You were gesticulating with your pen, and I think it just touched the pad or something. It was when you were talking and making a point.
my pad. I can understand if I touch the iPad, but here, look, the line goes off the iPad, and they've got a little red arrow there.
That's one for Chat GPT, that one.
I am puzzled. Never mind. We shall. I don't know. Ah, well, this I don't think this ever happened to me before. Ah, well, let's see what happens. I switch off and on again. I won't do that now. So, oh, by the way, the pleonasm that you mentioned, Simon, at the beginning of the Karane Metta Sutta.
Yanta.
That's right. Karaniya Matta Kusalena Yantan Santam Padam Abhisamecha.
I remember.
Yeah. So Yantang Santam Padang, that which is that path of peace. You could there have missed out the yang, what or which or that which is, without altering the meaning at all. There it is, pure pleonasm.
Here, I don't think you can. I don't think you can miss out the yad. I think the yad refers to everything up to Sarvaka Sango.
Yeah.
Dang is the 4 pairs.
Yeah. So I say I pretty much come round to your way of thinking. I imagine I'll be confirming it to you next time round. So yadidam chattari purisa yugani. Yuga. It's from our root yuj, meaning to join.
So we can't see your pad if you're writing on it. Are you writing on it? No.
I'm not. No.
Oh, no, right. Okay.
I can hold my pen here. So my pen is not writing back. No, I'm just looking at the text here. Yadidam chattari purisa yugani. So the yuga, from the root yuj, meaning to join, from which we get our well-known word yoga, which is just the verbal noun from yuj. You will incidentally very often find that roots, the Vedic roots that end in a ch or a j, they very often form their verbal noun by switching back to a k or a j. So switching back to a k or a g. So yuj, yoga. Shuch, to grieve, becomes shoka. Shuch root, shoka, grief. That's where we get the name of the emperor in Sanskrit, Ashoka, and in Pali, Asoka. So Asoka means the griefless, one who is without grief. This is another derivative from the Yugani here that I'm highlighting. Oh, the red lines have disappeared off the screen now without me doing anything. Okay. A yuga here is a derivative, meaning it just means a pair. Also, it's a word, I don't quite know why they've used the root yuj for it, but you get the yug, yuga rather, to mean an era, like a cosmic era. According to some, we are in or will be coming to the end of the Kali Yuga, the Yuga, the era, the age of darkness. But here it just means pairs. So the Purisa Yugani means the pairs of people, which is the Abhidhamma types of people, classification of types of people. And the Atta Purisa Puggala. Purisa and Puggala mean pretty much the same thing in the ordinary speech. Purisa, Pali, Purusha, Sanskrit, means a man, or by extension a person generally. Puggala means kind of about the same thing. Put them together, it looks as if like saying something like people persons, but what it actually means is just types of people. Simon, please.
I assume this was Puggala is slightly wider meaning, so it's like a Kamadarya, like individuals who are persons, something like that. I mean, could you call other things Puggala? Like, I don't know, devas or something?
Again, I'm not quite sure. Let me just check on that. I can check it right now. Here we are. Yeah, and I've just pulled up here the Pali Text Society's dictionary, which sometimes misbehaves, and when I pull it onto shared screen, it gives me a quarter of a page. Out now, it's gone to a full page. Where's it gone now? Come on. Here we are. It froze for a moment. So an individual as opposed to a group. Person, man, character. This might be the clue, because in Abhidhamma literature it means a character or a soul. I was thinking about the more primitive Sanskrit meaning. So Purisa Puggala would here mean people types or people characters, people souls. Thank you for getting me to pause there, Simon. Yes, but this looks like specialized Abhidhamma meaning of it, not just a person, but a character. That does explain it. And I hope somebody will reassure me at the age of 81 is not too late to get down to some proper Abhidhamma study.
It's not, James.
Thank you, Simon, Francis. I will certainly accept that from you. So the Attapurisa Puggala. By the way, Chattari, meaning four, it's in the number four. You see it reflected in the Latin quatuor, Chattari quatuor, quadrate, quadrant, the square, the four, quadrangle, the four squares, and the Atta, that's the one that's meaning eight. Ashta in Sanskrit as Ashtanga Yoga, the eight-limbed yoga. And the sh became a ch in the Germanic line, where it became acht. And in English, we retain the ch spelling in the GH, but we just pronounce it eight. So Ashta, Atta, octo in Latin, acht in German, eight in modern English, but retaining the GH spelling are all the same word. Esa, this Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. This is the Sangha of disciples, listeners of the Blessed One. Then Ahuneyo, Pahuneyo, Dakhineyo, Anjali Karaneyo, anuttaram punyakhetang lokasati. The root hu is a root meaning to sacrifice, or in the sense of to make a sacrificial offering. But even earlier than that, its original meaning was to pour. Let me call up the root hu. To pour. And a sacrificer was a hota from that same root. Some of you may remember from your studies of the earliest Vedas, the hota is a word you mean the high priest, the sacrificer, the pourer. The idea of the pouring was that you poured the molten butter, the ghee, into the sacrificial fire. That was the sacrifice. That was the ceremonial offering, the pouring of the ghee into the sacrificial fire. And the oldest recorded words in Vedic is that the Rig Veda, hymn number 1, verse 1, Agnimile Purohitang, and the Hotaram, the sacrifice of the person in charge of the sacrifice. Curiously enough, this root hu came into Latin, the H changed to an F. And so when we get the fundere, so the root form is the fundet at an end, fundere, meaning to pour. So you get an infusion where you pour something into something. An effusion is pouring out. If something is diffused, a diffusion or diffusion, it means kind of poured in all directions, so lost its concentrated center. So that was the original meaning. So then came to mean sacrificing, and then by extension, the offering of gifts. The offering of initially sacrificial gifts. So I've done a note on this in the explanatory glossary. So ahu and hu are just both variant forms of making offerings. This is one of those cases where, or seems to me to be one of those cases where the Buddhist scripture has taken a Brahmanical concept and given it a different Buddhist twist. And for example, you often see that in places in the Buddhist scriptures where the Buddha talks about, there are those who think the way to liberation is bathing in the Ganges, performing the rites, making these sacrificial offerings as done by the Brahmins. No, I say to you, the true Brahmins are those who hear and apply the Dhamma, and so on. So very frequently we see the Buddha taking Brahmanic concepts and then giving them a fresh meaning within the framework of the Dhamma, giving a transformed meaning. So ahuneyo, pahuneyo seems to me it belongs in that same line of thought. That the gods to whom the Brahmins made these sacrificial offerings, they were ahuneyo, prahuneyo, worthy of these gifts, sacrificial gifts and offerings being made. He's now applying these same words to the Sangha. So it is the Sangha who are worthy of these sacrificial offerings being made. And of course, by further extension, we aren't talking about sacrificial offerings. When we're talking about regular dana, just as the dana to the monks. We're saying that the monks are ahuneyo pahuneyo, worthy because of their good practice of the path, worthy of receiving these offerings from us. Dakineyo is from actually a root, Vedic root meaning Daksh. Simon, please.
Sorry, before you go on to Dakineo, is Pahuneo derived from Ahuneo? Is the guest the person you give a gift to? Or is it more to do with like like going up to, and again, Han, somebody that comes to meet you as a guest?
No, it's this is the root hu, and you've got the prefix a and ahu, meaning to make an offering to. And then it's that with an extra prefix, the pra, Sanskrit pra adjective, pra ahu. And it's one of those cases where the addition of the pra probably doesn't make much difference to the meaning. So it's almost like a kind of rhythmic alliteration of those words, but they're all from the same root, hu.
So the guest or the person you offer hospitality to is just the one you're giving to, in effect.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So yeah. So one I think one of them, the pahuneo, came by further extension to mean a guest, but the original meaning was one who was worthy of receiving your offerings, because you had very fairly strict rules of expected correct behavior back then of the way that you treated guests. You find the same in the ancient Greek culture, also the ancient Nordic culture. There were certain almost sacred obligations about how a guest ought to be treated. So dakineio. Oh, I think I lost a document here. No, I haven't. Just going to. Sorry, bear with me. I'm just finding something. Okay. So dakineio is cognate. It would be dakshineyo or dakshiniyo in Sanskrit. It's actually cognate with dexter in Latin. Dexter meaning the right hand, dexterous, dexterity, and also the meaning of brightness and goodness by extension. And the opposite of that, of course, has come into modern English, because the Latin word sinister simply means left, as right and left. Whereas in English, when we use the word sinister, I mean, we've, as it were, forgotten from the language's origin. It just meant the left hand, and it's got its current pejorative meaning. So daksha in Vedic reflected in the Latin dexter, the right hand. And then by further extension, in Sanskrit, daksha came to mean kind of skillful, which is indeed dexterous, again, which is the extended meaning of dexter, the right hand. If you are dexterous, you are skilled in the use of your hands. and ambidextrous, of course. You can use both hands equally well. And then Sanskrit made this meaning, the opposite of sinister, more explicit. So dakshina came to mean something straightforward and candid. But oddly enough, also it meant south. And I'll explain why. We've got our Sambudho Dipadang Seto. We've got that chant where you have we've got the Buddha and the 8 disciples at the 4 main points and the 4 sub-points of the compass. When we think of the points of the compass, we tend to think, just because the way our maps are drawn and the way we say it in order, we think of the north first. But in Sanskrit and Pali, when you are thinking of points of the compass, you imagine yourself facing east. And that's Pubba, Purva, in front of you. So in other words, east is in front of you. That's where you're facing. If you're facing east, then the south is to your right. And that is the Dakshina, the dexter, the Dakshina. Some of you will be familiar with the term of that part of India, the Deccan, which is the plateau in the southern part of India, came into English as the Deccan. That's from the Hindi pronunciation Dakkin, that which is to the right or to the south. Then, by further extension, with this generally good meaning that anything Dakshina had in Sanskrit, we had by extension, a Dakshina, the feminine form of it. A Dakshina was a very prized object. It was a prolific cow. And if you wanted to give a special gift to a Brahmin for doing a really special sacrifice to bring blessings upon the house, you could enhance the value of the sacrifice that the Brahmin was doing by giving him a dakshina, not just any old cow, but especially prolific cow. They'd be prolific in milk or in producing offspring, but a especially valuable cow, which had that value on top of all the other virtues that cows typically have in India. So the dakshina was the special gift of gratitude and sacrifice enhancement you gave to a Brahmin, and therefore came to mean a valuable gift generally. Back to our text here, dakineyo, worthy of receiving gifts, whether it be a prolific cow or otherwise. Here, just generalized to mean in any kind of gift. So, Angelikaranayyo. By the way, all of these ayo, 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 ayo. This is a variant form of the future passive participle. The more normal ending of this form is iya, not aya, iya. The very first word of our Karaniya Metta Sutta, Karaniyam, to be done, required to be done. Karaniyam Atta Kusalena. This is what needs to be done by one who is skilled in the goal. You occasionally find the variant form in aya. You do find it in ahuneyo, pahuneyo. And I think the ayo has got stuck in here just because it rhymes better, probably because Pali is a little bit loose like that. I'm not familiar with any other place where karaneyo is used instead of karanillo. Those of you who are familiar with the morning chanting, the longer morning chanting that we sometimes use, it's in our chanting book. I forget which page, at the 60s somewhere. This same recollection of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha is used, and in the morning chant, the more standard form karaniya is used and is there in our chanting book. So treat karaneyo as just as a slightly anomalous variant. There's no distinction of meaning. And the Anjali is just the greeting, you know, with the standard greeting with joined palms. That's called the an Anjali. Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, I meaning to ask you about the Anjali bit, about what it originally meant, because the verb anjati has got two meanings. So it either means to stretch out, so you can imagine kind of stretching the fingers out and stretching the hand out towards the object of veneration. But it also means Anjali is an ointment or balm from which we get unguent, ointment, anointing.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Correct.
Just wondering whether originally the gesture could have been more like this with cupped hands, in the sense of the rest of it is about receiving and worthy of putting your hands out to receive some blessing.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point. You're giving him plenty of homework to do, Simon. I'm going to
Interestingly, I mean, I was discussing this yesterday with my wife, who said that we often talk about what Buddhism and Christianity have in common, and they have this. And,
that's right. Yeah.
Interestingly, during the Lord's Prayer, some sects and denominations, or even her own parishioners, change from this to "Give us this day our daily bread."
Yes, holding out the hand. Yes.
Seems to be, in terms of, I don't know, kind of speculative anthropology, seems to be like, what does this mean? But that is pretty obvious. It's what
that is pretty obvious. Yeah.
ask for food or help.
Yeah. In fact, at certain parts of the ritual prayer, the Muslims will hold their hands out like that in that same kind of gesture as well. Okay, I'll look into this. I'll look a bit further into this and come back on it next time. But is it Anjati or Injati? Have I got that wrong?
It's Anjati. I've got it up here on PED. I just looked it up. Yeah, it's either it's from two separate roots, so it's either to stretch or pull along or draw out, and number to smear or to anoint.
Yes. Yes, ange is the Latin unguent and unguent and
Yeah.
unctuous. So unctuous has taken on a rather pejorative meaning in modern English, but it's the same. It's kind of a smeary.
Anoint.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Further research will be done. Thank you, Simon. Simon does like to keep me busy between lessons doing the research. I always thank you for it in the end. Ne Padakineyo, Angeli Karaneyo. Then the Anuttaram Punyaketang Lokasati. I think you all know it already. But the wherever you get, okay, the final T there, the standard meaning is just unquote. In fact, it's a shortened form of iti. When it comes at the end of a sentence or at the end of a quote, it is shortened to T. Where it comes at the beginning of a sentence, by the way, remember it is not shortened and it retains its full form. So here, iti piso is the same word in its full form. Iti piso, thus indeed is he, thus as previously mentioned. At the end of a quotation or end of a sentence, it's always shortened to T. But notice there that a preceding vowel, if short, will be invariably lengthened. That doesn't affect the grammar or the meaning. It's a purely phonetic phenomenon. If this were on its own without the T, it would be lokassa with a short A, meaning of the world. So lokassa. But with the following T, it becomes lokassati. Anuttara. So ut means, well, it's the same word as our English out, but it means out or up. It has both meanings. Uttara is directly cognate with our English word outer. So outer just means more out, further out. And depending on context, it can mean something that excels, that is better than something else. So if something is anuttara, it means it does not have an uttara. In other words, there is nothing that is further out. We could coin an English word, it is unoutered. We almost say in English, if you're bettered by somebody else, or bested, it means somebody else has done better than you. We could say unbettered, but we can invent the word unoutered, the unouted field of merit. So the unouted means there is nothing beyond it. This is the furthest you can go. There is none beyond it, none better than it, is the meaning of anuttara. And we have it also in the same word in the recollection of the qualities of the Buddha. It's the anuttaro Purisadamasarati. It is the sometimes translated as how have I translated it here? Unsurpassed, yeah. So that than which nothing has gone further, the best you can possibly do. So this is the unequaled, unsurpassed charioteer of the human broncos. So punya ketang, keta is a word meaning field. Let's call that back. So keta, Sanskrit is kshetra. It was just the ordinary. It started off being the ordinary word for a field in the sense of in the agricultural sense. And just as in English the word field originally had its physical meaning, and then by extension it came to mean an area of operation, and the broad meanings that our modern English word field has. Ketta, Sanskrit kshetra, has done exactly the same in Sanskrit and Pali. So a punya ketta is a field of punya.
James, why do they double the K?
Why do they double the K? Oh. Is there anybody else, apart from Simon, of course? Sorry, Simon. Is there anybody else who knows why they double the K? Simon, will you give your explanation of why they double the K?
That set me up, hasn't it? I think it's something to do with the fact that because it was kshetra, when it changes into the Pali, instead of having the double consonant, they just double the same consonant, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right.
But only if it's attached to another word.
Only if it's attached either as part of the same word of say with a prefix or very closely attached to it. Actually, that's an important point. You're going to see it again and again, so I'll explain it in more detail. Yes, Simon is right. Let's look at what's happening here. Sanskrit has numerous consonant clusters, which Pali tends to avoid. For example,
are you writing, James?
Sorry, thank you. I wish everybody was as quick as you've just been, Francis. Got to call me out.
Wrong last time. The time before. Too quick.
Don't be deterred, you'd mostly be right. So let's look at this consonant cluster, pra. By a cluster, I simply mean I mean two different consonants together, pra. Pali can't do that. Pali doesn't have a pra, so it becomes pa. So we're going to look at the Sanskrit word pramada. I'm glad you raised this point, Sarah. This happens, again and again and again throughout the whole of Pali. It's worth knowing very clearly why it's happening. So we've got the word pramada. We know what pramada means. It's the word that's often translated as heedlessness. It's the opposite of mindfulness, pramada. In Pali can't do a pra, so they have pamada instead. Pamada. Now, in common with virtually all languages, all ones I've looked at anyway, a word cannot begin with a doubled consonant. You can't say, what do you do? How do you pronounce a doubled consonant at the beginning of a word? Okay, there are some words that begin with a double consonant in writing, like the Welsh double L, but that's an entirely separate story. They just use a double L to represent the hl sound. But for the normal phonetic doubling, you can't have a double consonant at the beginning of a word. You can only have it after a preceding vowel. Now, that is why you have pramada, pamada. Now, let us negate that. Let us, by the negating prefix apramada. Now, where you get a consonant cluster in Pali, if it occurs at the beginning of a word, it's just reduced to a single consonant. If, on the other hand, it's in the middle of a word, or there is an immediately preceding closely connected word ending in a vowel, that gives the double consonant, the consonant cluster, a chance to get back in. So they don't say apamada, they say apamada. It is as if there is a linguistic memory in the minds of the Pali speakers that this wants to be double. So it's perfectly natural for the Pali speaker. There's this linguistic memory that in more ancient times was apra, apra, therefore they want to say appa. The only reason they can't make that doubling when the word stands on its own is because no word can start with a double consonant. As soon as you put the vowel in front of it, bang, opportunity is given. Up it pops. It's now a doubled consonant there. And the same happens with kshetra. So Sanskrit form. Oh, we've got two. The same phenomenon occurring twice in this word. So kshetra in Sanskrit meaning a field. First of all, when you have a ksha, very common sound in Sanskrit, it's the one that you often find written as a ksa with an x. It came into Latin and Greek as an x. It's the two sounds together. But curiously enough, for some reason, it's very interesting. There are two sounds, k, sh. Yet the Devanagari script has one single character representing that double sound. Curiously, so does Greek, so does Latin, because the Greek ks, it's two sounds, k and s, but it's represented by a single letter in Greek, the ks sound. And as we know, in Latin, it's represented by that symbol, but it's two sounds. So anyway, kshetra, we've got a consonant cluster there, ksha. Pali will reduce that to a k. Remember, although we write it with two letters in English, a K and an H, it's treated as a single sound. We simply have to write it with two different letters using the Roman script because we don't have a separate symbol for it. So it is a single sound, it's not a consonant cluster. So the kshe becomes k. The e remains. What happens to the tra? Becomes a double T. So the tra, kshetra becomes ketta. We are now seeing the same phenomenon occurring as we've just seen with pramada, pamada, apramada, appamada, where we have a preceding word closely joined to it, and here it is closely joined because it's a compound, two words put together, compound. Because of the closely preceding short a, this k now has the opportunity it's been waiting for to double itself. It kind of knows, it inherently knows it wants to be double. The only reason it's single is if it's forced to be at the beginning of the word. As soon as it's given the opportunity, up it pops with that doubling. And that accounts for the doubling of the keta, punya keta. Another note here, that where the consonant cluster begins with a sibilant, or in less frequent cases, but a case we here see is followed by a sibilant. The sibilants are the s, sh, and sh, by the way, in Sanskrit has three, Pali only has one. Sanskrit says s, sh, sh. Pali, they all become a s. But where you get this, a sibilant with another consonant, what tends to happen, it happens in the vast majority of cases. Let's look at the word skandha, Sanskrit skandha. Predictably, it becomes kandha in Pali. So what's happened here? The consonant cluster, the sk, has broken down now in Pali into a single consonant, but because of the presence of the S, that's the loss of the S is kind of compensated for by aspirating the consonant. So skandha to antha. You find this all over the place. And for example, sanskara in Sanskrit means a putting together and then a formation of something. We see the same phenomenon occurring again to sankara. So that k in the Pali is what began life as the sk of the Sanskrit. But this can't double itself because there's already a preceding consonant in the form of the anuswara that's subplotted M. So there's no doubling there. So hopefully, Sarah, this will adequately account for the kshetra becoming ketta and the K of ketta doubling before the preceding short vowel of punya.
It does, thank you.
Very good. Is there any doubt or ambiguity left in anyone's mind?
Simon's hand.
Simon's okay. Simon's, I know, just wants to give me more homework to do. I'll get right back to you, Simon. So I'm poking fun at you, Simon. Simon, may I help you?
I've got no. It's really to give you less homework. That your point about kandha and Sarah's point about why was the letter doubled. We also see when you put that as a compound, for example, dukkha kandha, you double the K as well as changing it from skandha.
Yes, you do. Dukkha kanda. Yes. So you see that phenomenon occurring twice. Phenomenon number one, the sk becomes a k. Phenomenon number two, both happening at the same time, is the k. Now it wants to double because the k, it kind of, if I can anthropomorphize it, kind of remembers that it really wants to be a double, but now put the dukkha kanda, gives it the opportunity to double, and so it does.
Here's your homework then. With regard to punya keta, that's actually kind of an important doctrinal point, which is why I was asking about the kind of receiving of blessing with Anjali.
Uh-huh.
It's that if you construe punya keta as most people normally do, it's a genitive tapurisa, a field of merit, which merit to us. We get blessings from the noble sangha. It could be seen the other way as a simple kammadarya. So it's just a meritorious field, which is something much less powerful that we can't get anything from. It's kind of, it just happens to be merit of the world and a field of that merit. The difference between like a wheat field and a field of wheat.
Yes.
From the field. So it's actually saying that the noble sangha are able to give us something. We're gaining something from them because they are a field of merit.
That's interesting. Actually, that's how I'd always interpreted it. But what you've said has now seen that there is another interpretation, which actually I think would probably be less forceful.
Exactly so.
Okay, yeah. So it's well worth noticing this. A lot of these compounds, they might appear obvious enough as these two words that are put together. We know what they mean, but there can often be subtle differences of meaning there. So exactly the one that Simon has just mentioned. So a merit field, a field of merit, is it just a field with lots of merit in it, or is it a field that provides punya to us, or enables us to enhance our punya by treating it as it should be treated. You know, there's being Angelica Reniu and so on. So that is very, very interesting. So these compounds, you know, they aren't always they aren't always totally transparent. A lot of them are open to in interpretation. So
Yes, I think so.
it's a very valid point. Francis.
Well, I think sometimes people translate it as a field for merit. I think I've heard that.
Yeah, there would be equally valid.
Yeah, which would bring out the other meaning. Yeah.
No.
Mm.
So these compounds actually so much depends on context and what you read into them. So, and you've often just got to determine from context what the relationship between two words in a compound is, and it often leads to confusion and ambiguity. So often it's just a matter of context, and with these compounds, you understand them because they become words of the language, and everyone knows what they mean. But see, a foreigner studying them might say, "Okay, then, a ticket machine. A ticket machine is a machine that sells tickets. Okay, therefore, is a railway station a station that sells railways? Well, no, it doesn't quite work as simply as that. You've got to know what it means just by the senses and meanings that they have, you know, developed through the use of the language as a living thing. But okay, that's just a joke example, but the example that Simon has pointed out, punyaketa, it can legitimately mean either. And there's nothing in the linguistic structure that gives us a clue. It could equally well be either. And you can get legitimate arguments as to which one is right. And equally, this could be one of those cases, whereas so often happens, the language invites us to hold both meanings in our minds at the same time. So it may often not be a question of one is right and the other is wrong. It may well be a case that they are both valid at the same time. So like a deliberate ambivalence, ambivalent, valid for both. So sometimes ambiguous, it's one or the other, but often ambivalent, both at the same time. And the final word then, just lokassa, or lokassati, with the lengthened a before the t. Loka, it's basically loka is everything that can be seen. So it's more like, it's not necessarily a world in the sense of our planet. It is a world in a broader sense. You get the deva loka, the realm of the gods. It's from a root luch, meaning seeing or light, which of course you'll recognize. The Latin lux, meaning light, and the English, well, in German, Licht, and in modern English, light. And from the same Proto-Indo-European origin, we get our verb to look. So loka, and our verb to look, actually from the same origin, everything that can be seen. So look and light and seen and the world, everything that is visible to us, come from the same origin. And then aloka, that upon which the light shines. Veronica has a granddaughter called Aloka. Yes, yes. Okay, excellent. So this now brings us to the 5:19 end of time, which actually is something of a relief because I realized to my horror just before starting the session that I failed yet to produce my analysis of the next text that we're doing. So I was fearful. Now, honest Gov, I haven't deliberately spun this out so that we'd stay on this part, but this just by happy coincidence now give me the opportunity to prepare and get out to you the next text that we're looking at, which is the precepts, the Panchasila. Okay, wonderful. So I will thank you all for joining me. I hope it's been of some use, and see hopefully all of you next time round, which will be the Saturday week, won't it? Mm.
24.
And those of you who are doing Sanskrit with me as well, we've got Sanskrit tomorrow. But okay, very good then. Thank you for joining me. Oh, we forgot to chant the blessing, didn't we? Let's do it for our blessing. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba dhammanubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalam rakhantu sabba devata sabba sangha bhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu. Farewell and see you soon. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Mm.